Hey y'all, welcome to another update on the basement drum room, control room project. We have framing, as you can see behind me. Let me talk to you a little bit about what's going on down here. So this is after one day. This crew seems to be working more quickly than the crew that built my last room. And we've got both rooms about 3/4 framed. So here's what's going on at the next step. We're going to finish framing. You can see on that side of the room there's no framing yet. We've got this little funky stuff we have to work around with my furnace. That shut-off valve there, they're worried about. They're going to build a box around that. We're going to soffit around those few pipes along that wall to give me as much width and as much height as possible. We're going to encase those lolly columns, right? So I'll talk a little bit more about this when it actually happens, but you can see this is against the foundation wall. This is that closed cell foam. Once these walls are done, we're going to spray open cell foam, which soundproofs not quite as well as rock wool and not quite as well as pink bat. And I'm going to talk more as we go about why I decided that that was the best thing to do, but I'll give you a little bit of a heads up. If you notice, so my walls, the studs are 16 on center, right, which is the lingo for 16 inches apart, right? If you look up and you see my joists, which are those beams in the ceiling, those are 12 on center, and there's a few of them. This was a modular house. So there are a few of them that are actually where the boxes overlap. They're even uneven, right? So to put, there you go. There's, see, the two of the boxes are lined up. So that's less than 12, right? So what would happen would be we'd have to cut all of that, those insulation bats, and try and get them up there. And so I decided that the thing that made the most sense was to spray, because the spray just fills the space, right? It doesn't care, you know, how big the space is. You just spray and it fills it. So it's probably slightly less effective than the rock wool, which is a mineral wool insulation. It's kind of the thing, you know, when you build a soundproof space in your house or in your basement, it's the thing you're quote unquote supposed to use. Those are my air quotes that you can't see. But given some of the peculiarities of my build, I feel like the open cell spray foam just makes more sense. And up in that's the rim joist up there. We'll be able to go way in there with the open cell spray foam. And then on this wall, so against the foundation wall, we're also going to do a layer of we're not doing mass loaded vinyl, we're doing Automute's version of it, which of course I forget the name of it at the moment, but I'll talk more about it when we get there. But I just wanted to give you a quick update on the framing. Oh yeah, one more thing. So on the walls that are against the foundation, that's a simple 2x4 sill and footplate with just 2x4 studs. The other walls, the walls that are going to be, you know, freestanding in the basement proper, I don't know if you can get a sense of this. There we go. They are staggered studs. And so what that does is the drywall that's on this side and the drywall that's on the inside of the room are going to be decoupled, and so won't transmit vibration as easily. We're going to use some clips on the ceiling, but I'm trying to only spend as much money as makes sense and get the best bang for my buck. And sound that leaks into this area is going to have trouble getting back out of the house because it'll die in the basement, basically, right? Whereas sound that's in the room going out that foundation wall is going to have an easier time because it's not going to have the basement to kind of dissipate, right? So I think this staggered stud wall construction is going to be good enough. So here you can get a sense, maybe a little bit of the size of the room. I think we're shooting for something like 11.5 feet wide by about, I think 21 feet long. And I think we'll be at something like 7.5 feet ceilings. So that's the live room. And this is going to be the control room over here. Same thing on this, the wall facing the basement. We're doing that staggered stud thing. My builder thought about doing like a 2x8 or a 2x10, but I feel like the 2x6 is going to be plenty. The thing they don't tell you here is so that's the wall. That's the foundation wall on this side. So the thing they don't tell you is, so what works best to stop sound, for sound proofing, right, is mass. You want, there's this really wonderful guy who does a lot of soundproof videos. And of course, I'm doing this on the fly, and so I don't remember his name. But I'll link it down below. But he has a fantastic company that does these walls that are like, I think they're either a foot or more than a foot thick, and there's there's drywall, and then there's activated carbon or charcoal, whatever. There's like a, mass loaded vinyl and plywood, or MDF rather, not plywood. But these walls are like incredibly expensive per square foot, and I just can't, there's no denying that would be a better, that's really soundproofing. For most people, when you're doing something in your house, either if you're doing it by yourself or if you hire someone else to do the work for you, you're going to be looking for sound attenuation, right? The odds of you making it so outside of the room you can't hear the slightest sound is low, right? I'm dealing with, even though my basement is pretty big, it's one of the reasons I fell in love with this house, honestly. It was, yay, a big basement, drum room. Even though I have a pretty big space, it gets taken up quickly when you're doing, here's a 10-inch thick wall, right? So that's why even on the thick walls, I wanted to keep them to just 6 inches, because then there's 2 layers of 5/8 drywall off of that, right? So you're another 2 inches of wall, right? So already now you're up to a 5/8 on one side and 2 layers of 5/8 on the other side. So you're over 2 more inches. So you're up to 8-inch thick walls as it is, right? So, and I just don't have the room for that. So I'm trying to make decisions that give me the best shot of as much sound attenuation as possible. My last room, I could play at midnight and it was not a problem. And I was closer to my neighbors there than I am here. I'm kind of in the forest, but I also have neighbors about 200 feet, maybe 150 feet on one side, but then only like maybe 60 or 70 feet on the other side. And the thing is, distance doesn't really give you as much sound attenuation as you would hope, especially at night in the forest when there's not a lot of other sound to to break up, you know, the sound that you're making. If you think about sound waves, one of the good ways to break up sound waves is other sound waves, right? And so during the day when there's a lot of background noise, your loudness will actually seem less loud because it's competing with other stuff. Whereas at midnight or 2 a.m., when everything's really quiet, then, you know, the slightest sound is going to travel like nobody's business. And that's why I decided that the 2x6 walls were acceptable instead of a thicker wall. Because like I was saying, right, so there's mass that's really what you want to block sound. But then you also have state change, right, which just means when the sound wave is passing from one surface to another, one element of the soundproofing, right? You've got the sound is in the air, and then it hits a surface, and then it has to go to the next surface, transmit either vibrationally or through air. Lots of air gaps is actually pretty good, right? So that's why I'm not as worried about the sound that gets out into the basement, because that's going to have it's going to have this cavity to kind of die in, and then it's going to have to get out it's going to have that one more state change, right, of the walls and the insulation that's outside of the drum room. So you've got mass, you've got state change. That air gap can be really helpful. When we do the mass-loaded vinyl, we'll talk about some elements of the mass-loaded vinyl that help too. There are ways to do mass-loaded vinyl better than others. And with my build, we're going to do it, hopefully, fingers crossed, the most effective way. But so I'll let you go for now. I'm going to ramble a lot about this process. I don't know how much the framing job is costing yet, because they're in process. So, like I say, it's my plan to keep you guys in the loop as to what I'm spending, just so you have an idea what you might spend if you were going to do something like this and hire someone. Obviously, like anything like this, the more you can do yourself, the cheaper it'll be. I'm going to do the floors myself at the end because floors are easy. But in terms of like building the room, I want other people to do that. So yeah. All right. I will I'll probably give you another update tomorrow. I don't know if it'll get posted tomorrow, but tomorrow in the process of the room. I'll try and do an update every day just so you can see how it's going. Like I say, they've got 3 walls in the big room and obviously 2 walls here. So I think one more day of framing and they might be done with the basic framing, and then the drywall will go up on the outsides of the rooms, and that's when the next, I think then the electric rough-in will happen, and then the next spray foam, and then after that I think pretty much the coat of drywall and finish electric, and then it'll be done. Cool. Hopefully a couple weeks, I'm hoping, who knows. It seems like my builders have a little bit of a lull in their schedule for other stuff, so they're doing pretty good getting in here. So we'll see. All right, I will see you guys again soon. Bye.